When I first made my Yamato for Straw Hat video right after Yamato was introduced, some people weren't completely for it. They're like, we don't know enough information about Yamato, like we need to know more. And it seems like a lot of those opinions have changed. Because once again, Yamato dominated this chapter with another big reveal that Yamato is not the son of Kaido, Yamato is the daughter of Kaido. And honestly, Oda dropped a lot of hints about this and I feel like I should have caught on, and I'll explain why a little later on, along with discussing all the important information that we found out about Yamato. But for this chapter review, we start at the top. One Piece chapter 984, My Bible. Starting with the cover story, we have another big reveal. Lola and Chiffon find out that their father is Pound. Okay, enough of that, on to the actual story. So we start off with Ulti and Page One after their whole fight with Luffy and Yamato, and in this chapter I feel like there were a lot of minor details that give us some power scaling information. Like Ulti, she ultimately did get knocked out by Yamato, but like I mentioned last chapter review, it was probably going to be temporary, similar to how Luffy got knocked out against Apoo. So while that does show that Yamato is strong as she managed to one-shot Ulti for a little bit, it also goes to show the strength and durability of the Tobiropo. One of the Beast Pirates even pointed out the strength of the dinosaur zones is just very strong and tough. And that also ties back to Page One, who took that punch from Luffy, but he said it just loosened his jaw a little bit, and the other Beast Pirates are like, that's it? Are you crazy? So just a little dialogue and reactions from this chapter. I feel like Oda is definitely trying to emphasize strength a little bit of the Tobiropo. Now with the interaction with Ulti and Page One, Ulti, like always, dominates her screen time with her personality. Her whole like bipolar interactions with Pepe, one moment like being this very loving sister, then getting pissed off, then trying to be mature, then being very childish. It's just very fun to see. And I gotta say, in the official translation where she talked about Yamato's Thunder Bagua being a blunder Bagua, I gotta give props to the translator there. That is a top-notch translation. But we could also look into that a little deeper as well. Maybe Ulti has taken a Thunder Bagua from Kaido before, so she knows what the difference in strength there is. Just something to think about there. I'm hoping that eventually leads into more backstory of the Tobiropo before they met Kaido, and that whole interaction and how they ended up serving under Kaido. But on to the next scene, we cut to Luffy and Yamato, and they are actually just fighting. I wasn't expecting this at all. I was kind of expecting what happens at the end of the chapter where like they go into a separate area and they have a conversation, but I kind of like the direction Oda took it here. Luffy's kind of taking this a little seriously, like he knows he has places to go, he can't get distracted. And with the fight between Yamato and Luffy, there's also a lot more minor details. First off, Luffy's attack. He launches a gear third punch, but he also has smoke covering him, so I'm thinking he's also in gear second. Now post time skip, he's essentially mastered both of those gears, but I'm wondering, is this the first time we saw him use both of them simultaneously, like at the same time? Maybe my memory's just bad because I haven't reread post time skip, but I feel like that's the first time like him really showcasing using them at the exact same time. Either way, it's a really dope attack and it really shows Luffy's power, and I'm hoping this eventually leads to him mastering gear fourth as his main power up for this war, and him being able to switch between those forms of gear fourth and last longer in that battle form. Also at the same time, Yamato blocked Luffy's attack pretty easily. The same one that almost loosened Page One's jaw. Yamato's there is like, yo, chill, relax, what are you doing, bro? I'm just trying to talk to you. So once again, I feel like that's a little bit of power scaling information we're getting there. Like Page One took Luffy's hit, he's very durable and strong, but his jaw almost got loosened. Yamato, on the other hand, has no issue defending Luffy's attack. But also later in the chapter, Yamato also mentions that she thinks Luffy is very strong and that he wasn't even trying really hard yet. So while all of this is very minor details, I feel like Oda is definitely putting emphasis on small points of strengths here. Now as Luffy and Yamato's clash continues, we get Yamato foreshadowing her thing with Ace that she reveals later on, saying that it reminds her of a battle in the past. I also like that Yamato showcased a little personality. She was kind of agitated. She called Luffy a stubborn mule. Like last chapter, we saw she was all proper, like, please pardon me, I'm not trying to harm you. Even in the beginning when she's fighting Luffy here, it's like, hey, I mean you no harm, why are you fighting me? But as it prolonged a little bit, she's kind of getting a little pissed off, and I kind of like that. Now the final thing I want to touch on with this scene is this. Luffy launches for one final attack. He says, "I've had enough of you," and he launches his punch, and it creates this big explosion. Now, this punch kind of has an aura around it. Now, it could be just smoke from Gear Second or just like the battle, but I think it's possible he uses an advanced armament hockey punch there. I only say that because when that first got introduced, it does show this like aura around the fist of hockey. Now, Luffy's fist isn't shaded in like a normal hockey punch would, so maybe I'm thinking a little too much into it, but the fact that like Luffy says, "I've had enough of you," and this punch creates this big explosion, I feel like it could be Oda like emphasizing Luffy using advanced armament hockey and showcasing a little bit of Luffy's strength. But next we cut to the main live stage, and Orochi is giving his speech still about Momonosuke, and this scene kind of reinforces what one of my thoughts is that the Beast Pirates, I feel like they don't respect Orochi that much. I think a lot of people wonder why Kaido even has Orochi still as the Shogun in the first place, and my thought process was always like he doesn't really have somebody to put in as the Shogun, so he let Orochi, who came up with this big plot and everything, and someone who knows the country really well, so he thought, okay, you could just stay there and we'll put you there. But it's not that equal a relationship. Like, Kaido could probably off Orochi very easily. But yeah, Orochi's giving his whole speech about Momonosuke, and nobody really believes him. They're saying like, there's a lot of little kids with top knots running around, the Kazuki clan is dead, you're kind of crazy. And amongst the crowd that are also pretending to cheer on Momonosuke's execution are other members of the samurai, and also Jinbei and Robin. I gotta say, this was one of the funniest panels I've seen in a long time. Robin's acting, you gotta give her an Oscar here. That was just brilliant, the way she's drawn with her expression, her hands up, and telling Orochi that she wants to gouge Momonosuke's eyes out, just absolutely brilliant. And Brago said this in his video, but Robin really excels when she's like put into a role, whether that's like a villain role as Miss All Sunday in Alabasta, or as like a geisha undercover, when she's taken out of her comfort zone and put into another role where she's not usually her like calm, stoic self. She really excels, and we get to see more of her expressions and her in different personalities and outfits and roles, and it's really fun when that happens. But I also really like Jinbei in that panel as well, because somehow this big ass fishman just wearing some little like Beast Pirates outfit is able to like sneak in and look the part. He even has another Beast Pirate member there. It's like, ain't that right, brother? And then Jinbei's like, oh yeah, this is great, totally, man. That was funny as well, and that panel right there is like the best way to do comedy, like something really funny, but it also fits the story and doesn't take away from it like Oda has done a couple of times in the previous chapters. I also like Jinbei kind of showcasing his role in the Straw Hats, of him being this very experienced like veteran in the pirate game, right? Even somebody like Robin, who's been a pirate for a long time and knows a lot of information, looks up to Jinbei as like a role model, as the boss, right? She calls him the boss as well, wondering like what we should do, and Jinbei is they're kind of like telepathically speaking somehow, and Jinbei is like, the samurai will make their move eventually, stay patient, Nico Robin, it's okay. So I like that Jinbei's role is getting further developed. So next we cut to Law and the Scabbards, and they've arrived as well, and literally everybody's pretty much here, guys. Like, this is about to go down. It's getting really exciting, but Law and the Red Scabbards, they have arrived at the back entrance with the crazy whirlpools and everything, and Law does his whole thing with room shambles of like these little pebbles falling off of a cliff, and he's able to switch them like that. Really dope way to showcase his technique again. Oda also drew the sick panel of like the crazy whirlpools right by Onigashima and how the weather is snowing and everything. One thing I will say I'm a little disappointed by is that only Shachi, Penguin, and Beppo are going with Law once again. I want to see more of Law's crew, right? Like, please, like, even John Bart gets left behind. It's only those three going with Law for some reason. Like, sure, maybe Law wants to protect his crew because they got kidnapped once already, but like, how strong are Shachi and Penguin? Like, Beppo at least has Sulong form he could go into, right? And he could, like, do some martial arts and stuff. Am I just forgetting where it has Shachi and Penguin not really showcased that much in terms of strength? I know they've had a long history with, like, Beppo and Law going way back, but, like, is that the only reason they're always brought along? I just kind of wanted to see more of Law's crew, but anyways, they arrive, but along with them, Nekomamushi, Marco, and Izo arrive as well, and let's just get this out of the way first. Izo and Kiku's reunion, one of the most wholesome things I've ever seen. No matter how manly or macho or stoic you are, I feel like the community as a whole, when they saw that reunion, let out a collective, Aww. Kiku's cute sob face and then Izo complimenting her samurai skills, that was just a very wholesome moment. On a side note, Izo's post-time skip design is looking clean, okay? Man's got a new robe, he's got a scar on his forehead looking like the samurai Harry Potter. So yeah, really love Izo's post-time skip design. Now, there's a lot more to break down with this scene still, like right when the Scabbers and Law get there, Law points out there are 2 entrances, and he guesses the top one is Kaido's. Now, Oda implementing this in here has to make it like the other entrance is something important, right? So like maybe they go into the wrong entrance and end up meeting Yamato or like another opponent or something, or like they just go the wrong way. It could be something very simple, but it's gotta get incorporated somehow, or else why would Oda just randomly put 2 entrances? I don't think that would make any sense. Then there's also Marco, who after dropping off Neko and Izo goes off because he saw a shadowy figure out in the distance. Now initially, right when I read this, I thought, okay, Perospero, like he was like out at sea and Marco's talking about a shadowy figure out at sea. But then I really thought about it, and if that really is Mr. Perorin, well then rest in peace Mr. Perorin, he's gonna get bodied by Marco. It would be kind of repetitive too to show like Perospero finally like escaping one of the sneak attacks and then just getting bodied by Marco anyways. It would give me a good laugh, but also would be bad plot-wise. Some people have mentioned maybe it's Gecko Moria because he mentioned a shadowy figure. Now, I've mentioned like Gecko Moria and Blackbeard possibly coming to Wano in another video. Check that out here. But I feel like if they were supposed to come, this is too early right now. We really don't need another villain and Yonko getting involved right now. If they do come, I feel like it should be later in the arc by the near end. Besides that, people have mentioned Weevil as an option, but I also feel like Weevil is gonna get involved probably in the next arc. He really doesn't need to be introduced here. I feel like this arc is showcasing the Whitebeard Pirates a little bit, but they're mostly in the support role, and then after this arc, you're gonna go with the Whitebeard Pirates and then go figure out the whole Weevil situation in that storyline. It could be that shadowy figure that was following Jinbei and Robin. We don't know who that is. We first thought it was Yamato, but I don't think that makes any sense because Yamato showed up like very soon later on right by Luffy. So maybe it's Caribou or Tama, but like why would they be out in the middle of the sea? Or how about this? It could be the Grand Fleet. So like this takes Marco out of the picture for a little bit, and then the big battle kind of happens first because everybody's already there, and then later Marco comes back in with the Grand Fleet. Like that would be pretty sick. And speaking of reinforcements, there's still more people to come. Like at the very least, there's Nekomamushi's Guardians who were with him and went with him to go get Marco, and there's no way Marco brought all of them with Izo and Nekomamushi. So there should be another ship and reinforcement team coming, and maybe the other Whitebeard Pirates are on that ship as well. And another interesting thing to note is that Nekomamushi now has a gun hand, but just 2 chapters ago, he didn't have that. It was still bandaged. So I have a feeling there's gonna be more reinforcements coming. Like the Guardians showing up later by themselves isn't really that impactful, so like maybe I think it makes sense for the Whitebeard Pirates to be with them, and maybe Marco will bring the Grand Fleet as well, and now you're really talking about a equal battle. And another thing I thought about is that if the Blackbeard Pirates are actually here, then you could potentially have a rematch of the Whitebeard Pirates and the Blackbeard Pirates. Kind of redundant, but like it would be a cool fight to see. I don't really like the idea, but just something I thought of. And now we go to the other side with Kaido and his gang, who are showcased in this majestic, badass double panel spread. Yeah, and they're looking pretty tough right here, and Kaido, like the Beast Pirates say, is giving off a very dominating aura, kind of showcasing the strength that he has and the power of a Yonko. And to kind of just add on to my little like Orochi and Kaido tension thing, like Orochi's looking kind of terrified of Kaido, right? And like, you know, Orochi, I feel like he wouldn't be someone who would just sit around and wait for Kaido to like replace him. He knows that like Kaido's way stronger than him. You know, he's been doing some deals on the side with the world government, trying to get weapons and battleships, and also Dr. Vegapunk. Also some secrets it looks like has been kept, like Kandro never mentioned Kiyoshiro, and doesn't look like Queen knew about the Udon prison breakout. So maybe Orochi is plotting something as well, and like that could be another betrayal element later in the story. But the big thing about Kaido's arrival is that he's about to make that big announcement he was talking about, and he announces this as the new Onigashima project. And to be honest with you, I have no idea what he's about to say. I was thinking about making a video to speculate on this, then I really thought about it, and I have zero clue. But I do think it will be something astronomical, right? Like Big Mom and Kaido are teaming up to like do something crazy, or else why would the two of them team up? So it's probably something that's gonna create some like immediate danger, and now that could be the trigger for the war. Like he announces like a plan to take over the world and like destroy Wano completely immediately, and like the new Onigashima project, maybe he wants to make all of Wano look like Onigashima and have the beast pirates like take over all of it and like kill all the citizens or something, and the big mom pirates will also like move in or something crazy like that. So I feel like it's gonna bring some kind of crazy like danger to like kind of escalate the war a little bit. But besides that kind of speculation, I really have no idea what they're about to announce. And then another note here is that Kaido and his 3 calamities are right in front of Momonosuke. So how the hell is our boy Momonosuke going to get free? Now the first option I thought of is like Nico Robin. Like she could just sprout some arms, toss Momonosuke real quick, Jinbei catches them and they run off. But like you got a Yonko and 3 commanders there, they'll probably notice right away and stop that, so maybe that won't work. It could be Sanji's little surprise Mr. Prince moment that he comes out, skywalk, raid suit, invisible, snatches Momonosuke and gets out of there. And I feel like Momo could do like a clutch move there because he's tied by his hands, but if he just transform into dragon form, like I said this when he was tied up by Kandro, like just transform into a dragon and you'll be free. And in my Momo video, I talked about how like there will be a moment of shock, I feel like, for Kaido seeing Momonosuke as a dragon, so like maybe he's shook and taken back by that, and Momonosuke is kind of able to use that to escape with Sanji or something like that. So yeah, once everybody gets to that center area, I feel like saving Momo is gonna be the first like major battle or like task that they will have to fight over. But finally we get back to Luffy and Yamato, and they finally sat down. Luffy says, I'll give you 5 minutes this time, and we get a plethora of information from Yamato. First off, Yamato was at Kozuki Oden's execution and then saw how great of a warrior and samurai Oden was and decided that she was gonna be Kozuki Oden, and then said that once she told Kaido that, Kaido beat the hell out of her, which I feel like would have looked something like this masterpiece by Professor Gemini. Also shout out to Reddit user JenKenP, who kind of noticed like a person dressed similar to Yamato back during the flashback at Oden's execution. So I feel like that was a thing that Oda definitely threw in now that we found out Yamato was at Oden's execution. And to tie back to my Yamato video, it kind of makes sense that like Yamato would be like in her mid-20s, like maybe 28, the same age that Momonosuke would be if Momonosuke didn't jump 20 years into the future, and you know, her being 28 would fit her very well into the Straw Hat dynamic. And let's just talk about Yamato for Straw Hat again real quick. Now that she is a female, people are gonna bring up like, does this mean that Carrot won't join as well? Because the whole pattern of like the second crew member of the Each Sea is a female. And guys, I gotta say this, I just got monetized, so like I should probably keep my content clean, but fuck the pattern, okay? I want both Carrot and Yamato. Give me both of them. The Straw Hats are a complete sausage fest. Let's liven up the crew a little bit. Give Sanji a nosebleed. Both Yamato and Carrot will be great additions to the crew. I want them both, and let's just diversify the Straw Hats a little bit as well. But anyways, the next big reveal by Yamato is that she did find Oden's logbook, and I'm gonna make a separate video on this altogether because as Yamato mentions, Oden's logbook has a lot of very important information in there. And it's important that Yamato pointed out that Kaido and Orochi don't know about this, because in that logbook is probably a lot of important information regarding the history, like the true history, and also Laugh Tale and everything. It is kind of an ass pull that like she somehow found it in Curry, so maybe like Oda could explain that a little bit, but it moves the story forward, so I don't have that big of a problem with it. But yeah, as I mentioned in my video, once again, Yamato having that logbook will give her kind of ambition to like open up Wano, just like she said in this chapter, having like Kozuki Oden's dream, but also like why wouldn't she want to go and explore the world with the Pirate King or the future Pirate King, like I mentioned with like Ace, and then Ace also gets mentioned in this chapter. But yeah, after we find out the whole logbook situation, we get the big reveal that Yamato is actually a daughter. Now, I did not see this coming. I mentioned earlier how I should have seen it coming, and that's because I had looked up like the inspiration for Yamato, like the name in Japanese folklore or history, and that was Yamato Takeru, a prince who had cross-dressed before. And also Yamato's mask last chapter was like an Oni mask representing a jealous female, but it was so out of left field because Kaido called Yamato a son. And I didn't know like Kaido was so big on pronouns, but good on him for doing that. People even spoiled me on this. I saw it in comments like, oh, Yamato's the daughter or whatever. I'm like, you guys are trolling. Stop messing around with me. So like I was still shocked by the moment, but like that's how shocking it was. I got spoiled and didn't even think I got spoiled. And the final thing about Yamato is she mentions about Ace and like how Luffy reminds her of him. And here's how I see it going down with Ace. Ace, I think, still met Yamato before he met Whitebeard, because when he goes there, we see him with his original Spade Pirates crew. So I feel like he goes there, explores the country, meets Yamato, they fight a lot, like she's probably maybe still wearing that mask. She realizes he's strong and they like bond over strength or something like that, and then eventually like Yamato's talking about how she wants to like find like the future Pirate King. Then Ace says, oh, that's gonna be my brother Luffy, because he hasn't met Whitebeard yet. But then soon later on, he meets Whitebeard, and then Whitebeard asks Ace, oh, you went to Wano, did you see a man named Oden there? And then of course Yamato is like the self-proclaimed Kozuki Oden. Ace, while he's very proper, has good manners, also a little like dense sometimes, so he could have been like, oh yeah, somebody's dressed like a samurai, has the knots in the background, super strong as well. They were kind of weird, and then Whitebeard's probably like, ah yes, that's my brother Oden right there, and maybe that's why they didn't know about the whole situation in Wano. And that could explain the line about Marco saying word of Oden's tragedy never made it outside of Wano. It's still a bit of a stretch to me, and we'll have to see that in the flashback, but for right now, that's my like guess of the situation. But we're definitely going to get another flashback soon, and I'm kind of excited for it. I want to see Yamato's flashback to kind of maybe give us that sad backstory that is such a requirement for a lot of people to like join the Straw Hats. But we're definitely going to get some more spotlight on Yamato and her story as a kid, and more about Ace in Wano, and probably more about Kaido's past. But this chapter overall, initially when I first read it, I thought it was a little slow at some moments, but think about what I just talked about. This is probably one of my longest chapter reviews I've ever made. Oda drew some really great artistic panels, the pacing was great, I love the interactions, some great fight scenes as well, the comedy hit as well. This chapter is an absolute banger, there's no question about it. But what do you guys think? What did you think about the chapter, the big reveal of Yamato, and about Ace, and how do you think the next chapter is going to play out? Let me know in the comments below. Before I get into my outro, I just want to say I might start doing live reactions to these chapters, but please do not spoil me. Like, I know the channel's been growing very big, and I'm very appreciative of that, but like, I don't think I could avoid spoilers in my comments anymore. So if I'm gonna like do a live reaction, I might just have to like not read comments once those spoilers come out. Maybe I'll like look for some mods for my comments. So if you're interested, you want to hit me up on Twitter, I'm DKing4, hit me up there. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to keep up to date with when I'm posting new videos or doing live streams, you gotta hit that subscribe button. We are now, should be as of this video, hopefully close to 1,400 subscribers, which is crazy, guys, which is incredible. We still keep growing steadily. We're still growing at a crazy amount. Thank you guys so much for the support. I want to make my next subscriber goal 5,000, and I'm gonna promise something for it. Some people brought up to me the idea of a Discord and creating a Discord. I think at 5,000 subscribers, I will create a Discord channel. So Discord at 5K, help us get there. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the bell to join the crew as well. Follow me on Twitter, I'm DKing4. Got another video for you right there, a playlist right there, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.